You won't believe what's about to unfold next month. Prepare yourselves because America is on the brink of a retail revelation that could shake your confidence in our economy's foundations. Walmart, the retail giant that powers a large portion of our shopping habits, is discreetly gearing up for an impending crisis unlike anything we've experienced in recent times. Imagine walking into your local Walmart only to find bare shelves, exorbitant prices, and a supply chain unraveling before your eyes. Yes, it's coming, and Walmart knows more than they're letting on. Our insiders are raising the alarm about looming food shortages, unprecedented delays in must-have products, and inflation rates that echo memories of past economic distress. Yet, there's an even deeper layer of this story. Behind closed doors, new government regulations and a surge in international trade strain are putting retailers in a tight spot, and the ripple effects will reach every single one of us, changing how we live, shop, and spend. Ready to face the reality of a world where basic commodities either vanish or skyrocket in price seemingly overnight. Today, we're lifting the veil on the hidden truths about what Walmart and, indeed, the government aren't revealing to everyday shoppers like you. This isn't just about surviving the storm, it's about navigating through it strategically armed with the knowledge they hope you never discover. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's delve into what they don't want you to know, because being informed can save you a lot more than just your hard-earned dollars. One, food insecurity is silently becoming an immense challenge across the U.S., and recent findings might just shock you. After November, it seems the struggle to put food on the table is going to intensify, a grim reality that Walmart won't be quick to broadcast. According to a startling study from the USDA, a staggering 13.5 million households faced food insecurity in the past year alone, and experts predict this number is set to escalate in 2025. Rising grocery prices and potential shortages are painting a bleak picture for many average Americans, and it's something everyone should be aware of. Imagine standing at your local Walmart, only to find that the cost of your cart has jumped nearly 11.4% compared to last year. More and more people are feeling the pinch as basic essentials become unaffordable. What's even more concerning is the decline in critical government assistance programs. These vital lifelines provided much-needed relief during the pandemic, but now they are being significantly reduced. This means fewer safety nets for vulnerable families already struggling to get by on limited budgets. Walmart, recognizing the gravity of the situation, has made moves to bolster the availability of non-perishable goods, such as canned foods, cereals, and pasta. However, even these proactive efforts might fall short in cushioning the blow of continued shortages and soaring prices. Without significant interventions, experts warn that grocery costs could skyrocket by another 8 to 10% by mid-2025. This could further constrict access to essential, affordable food for countless families across America. The looming crisis of food insecurity is more than just a financial strain. It represents a widening gap in access to basic human needs. What's even more frustrating is the potential for this issue to evolve into a full-blown crisis that could persist for many years. Walmart's expanded efforts are commendable, but may not be enough to stem the tide of rising food insecurity. Behind the shelves stacked with products, a quiet struggle unfolds daily, one that demands urgent attention and action before it spirals further. Point 2. Looming financial crisis. Prepare for impact. Brace yourself, because the looming financial crisis is no longer just a theory. It's fast becoming a startling reality, and it's something Walmart might prefer you don't think too deeply about. The U.S. national debt has astonishingly rocketed past the $33 trillion mark, and brace yourself, over $1 trillion is funneled away every year just to cover the interest. Imagine that $1 trillion vanishing each year to pay off interest alone. This isn't just unsustainable, it's a ticking time bomb, threatening to implode if not handled with unparalleled urgency. Financial pundits are sounding the alarm bells, hinting at a catastrophic collapse unless a transformative approach to debt management is put into motion by the government. Here's the thing: as interest rates climb and economic growth crawls at a snail's pace, the government might have no choice but to introduce harsh austerity measures or face the unimaginable consequence of a debt default. The implications are profound, not just for executives on Wall Street, but for hard-working individuals managing household budgets across America. If the dollar collapses, the aftershocks will be seismic and immediate. Prices for basic necessities, yes, those groceries and gasoline you depend on, could escalate to astronomical levels. Imagine the cost of imported goods, accounting for a substantial portion of Walmart inventory, surging past affordability. And that's merely the opening act. In a worst-case scenario, visualize facing banking freezes, running into empty ATMs, or witnessing frenzied bank runs as consumers panic over access to their cash. If you think these outcomes are far-fetched, remember that financial analysts have been drawing parallels to historic crises that previously spiraled into monumental economic chaos. This isn't some distant threat lurking on a horizon you won't reach, it's unfolding in real time. The actions you take today stand to dictate whether you ride out this financial tempest or stumble amidst the fallout unprepared. Perhaps now is the time for decisive action. Review and diversify your financial portfolio, scrutinize your current financial status, and make the crucial preparations to safeguard your future. Whether that means moving your cash into more stable assets or ensuring you're not overexposed to volatile markets, your proactive steps could shield you from the worst repercussions. Remember, preparing today means you won't be caught by surprise tomorrow. Despite the overwhelming situation, informed strategic decisions made right now can provide a buffer against the oncoming storm. It's imperative to maintain vigilance and adapt to rapid developments. Let's not wait for Walmart or anyone else to ring alarm bells. Take control of your financial destiny before it's too late. 3. We often think of California as the land of Hollywood dreams and Silicon Valley innovations. But it's time to talk about California's secret identity, the agricultural juggernaut. You may not know this, but California produces over a third of the nation's vegetables and about 2/3 of its fruits and nuts. However, a storm is brewing, threatening to take a bite out of your grocery budget, and after November, the ripples will reach far and wide, including at your local Walmart. Here's what they won't tell you. First, let's look at the numbers. California's agricultural sector is nothing short of an economic powerhouse, pulling in over $50 billion annually. However, that number is in jeopardy. A report from 2023 has revealed a dramatic reduction in farm acreage by almost 10% over the last decade. This is due to water shortages, rapid urban expansion, and rigid environmental regulations. Adding fuel to the fire are new laws allowing non-citizens to buy homes with zero down payments, which is causing even more farmland to be consumed by residential projects. This urban sprawl means fewer acres devoted to cultivating vital crops like tomatoes, lettuce, and almond, staples not just for locals, but for families across the nation. Without enough land to grow these essentials, Walmart and other grocery giants will face stark challenges in keeping their shelves stocked. But the story doesn't stop there. Enter California's price gouging laws. Though crafted to protect consumers, these rules are backfiring on farmers in unexpected ways. When emergencies strike, farmers can't raise prices to counteract rising costs due to labor shortages, tightening water regulations, and increasing environmental compliance costs. California's minimum wage for farm laborers is now among the highest in the country, at $16 per hour, with another hike on the horizon. This perfect storm is squeezing smaller and medium-sized farms till they have no choice but to reduce planting or shutter operations entirely. Less planting means dwindling supplies, and you guessed it, higher prices on what's left. Water, or the lack thereof, is California's Achilles heel. The state has been grappling with severe droughts, and 2023 etched a grim record, the driest year ever documented. Reservoirs now hover at a mere 42% of their typical capacity. This has forced agriculturalists, particularly those growing thirsty crops like almonds and citrus fruits, to increasingly cut back on water usage. Projections by the Public Policy Institute of California suggest these restrictions could cut crop output by another 7% by 2025. Not only does this forecast mean fewer crops, it also translates to fewer shipments nationwide and a direct hit to food supply chains. Couple this with the state's stringent environmental mandates, including some of the world's toughest emissions standards, which are hiking up the cost of shipping goods in and out of California. The latest truck emissions standards alone are predicted to add an additional $1 billion in transportation expenses every year. These increased transportation costs trickle down the supply chain, affecting everyone from farms to warehouses, retailers like Walmart, and ultimately to consumers. It's no wonder food prices are running rampant and outpacing wage growth. Moreover, California's ports, handling a substantial share of the country's food imports and exports, are teetering under pressure. With stricter environmental policies in place at ports and a shortage of dock workers and truckers, delays in food distribution are soaring. As food products languish at docks, spoilage rates are climbing. In 2023 alone, the USDA reported a staggering 15% increase in food waste due to these holdups. Such inefficiencies don't just mean higher consumer prices, they also compromise the quality and accessibility of fresh produce on store shelves. Looking to the future, newly proposed taxes and fees, like a carbon tax targeting greenhouse gas reductions, are set to add to this financial burden. According to farmers, these looming burdens may lead to further downsizing in agricultural production. By 2030, experts predict a potential 20% decrease in California's agricultural output, a blow that could disrupt the national food supply chain. As these shortages and costs cascade throughout the economy, the impact will resonate from your local grocery aisles to restaurants across the country. The bottom line: California's policies are paving the way for a national food supply crisis. The warning signs are already showing more expensive and less available food, and it's about to get much worse. Remember, come next year, your regular fruits and veggies might become elusive treasures. Stay informed, stay prepared, and brace yourself. It's going to be quite the ride. Point 4: the hidden impact of rising energy costs. You might have noticed that filling up your gas tank feels like digging deeper into your wallet lately, but what Walmart isn't telling you goes beyond the fuel quarts. There's an undercurrent to these recent spikes in energy costs that could quietly squeeze your everyday budget, and trust me, after November, you'll be shocked. In the past year alone, global oil prices have rocketed by a staggering 35%. To put it into perspective, this surge stretches its influence far beyond that nagging number at your local gas station. Home electricity bills, they're climbing too, not to mention the heating costs that are set to skyrocket just as the temperatures dip. And then there's the ripple effect, something you won't immediately see but will undoubtedly feel. A massive consequence of these climbing energy prices is in the realm of transportation, the silent engine of consumer retail. Everything from the ingredients in your spaghetti sauce to that new pair of sneakers hinges on the cost of getting them to the shelves. Recent industry reports reveal a 22% increase in the cost of shipping a single standard container across the Pacific since the start of 2023. Gulp down that figure, it's a source of shockwaves through the market. Now, as these transportation costs climb, they're subtly nudging up the price tags on the products lining every aisle. That favorite cereal you grab every week or the household cleaner you swear by, all inching towards a greater price, thanks to the underlying cost of energy. However, the impact doesn't stop with these day-to-day goods. Brace yourself for the colder months where this energy conundrum reaches a crescendo. Heating costs, crucial for a cozy home in winter, are anticipated to climb by 10 to 15% through the winter of 2024. Families are likely to face the unhappy choice between keeping the heat on or buying essential groceries. This situation throws yet another punch to households already wrestling with unrelenting inflationary pressures. Think about it: less disposable income means tighter budgets. It means scrutinizing every purchase and potentially having to forgo a choice cut of meat or a favorite treat. Beyond the price tags, it's a cut into the quality of living, not just a number game but a significant lifestyle adjustment. So why doesn't Walmart sound the alarm? Navigating these economic currents isn't just a simple task of balancing books. Retail giants focus on the facade, enticing deals and flashy discounts that momentarily distract from the larger squeeze at play. The next time you stroll down the aisle, consider the unseen hands of rising energy costs. November is just the start of a financial forecast that challenges the choices you make inside and outside the store. Keep a keen eye and an open mind, as preparedness might just become your biggest savings tool. 5 shocking truths Walmart won't tell you: civil unrest on the horizon. In today's volatile economic climate, the potential for civil unrest is growing rapidly in the United States. While societal tensions simmer under the surface, giants like Walmart are quietly navigating these turbulent waters. As inflation surges to unprecedented levels, with rates soaring to 6.5%, individuals and families across the country are grappling with stark financial realities. Unemployment stands stubbornly high, leaving countless Americans striving to make ends meet. Simultaneously, food insecurity has emerged as a devastating crisis for millions, with over 38 million people currently affected. This is not mere speculation. Recent analyses indicate a 23% escalation in protests and strikes throughout 2023, tumultuously centered in cities hit hardest by these rising costs and job shortages. When Americans can no longer afford fundamental needs like food, gas, and housing, the threat of social stability unraveling looms ominously. To comprehend the gravity, envision this: a sharp uptick in civil unrest is inevitable unless decisive action is taken to alleviate economic strains. The tension is swelling not just towards peaceful protests. Workers' strikes, significant disruptions, and potentially violent unrest are all plausible consequences for communities pushed past their limits. Such instability permeates through our daily lives, threatening repercussions far-reaching beyond just mere inconveniences. Imagine venturing out to your local Walmart only to find the doors shuttered due to protests or strikes. Interruptions in delivery chains could leave shelves barren, creating scarcities of critical goods even in stores renowned for their all-encompassing inventories. This would not be due to a lack of desire to spend, but because the supply lines that keep these retailers stocked have been severed. The ripple effects are expansive, impacting not just consumers' ability to procure essentials, but the very viability of stores like Walmart to function effectively. The U.S. government is acutely aware of these mounting tensions. However, the preventive measures implemented fall short of resolving the core issues. The Federal Reserve's strategy to combat inflation, raising interest rates, is paradoxically exacerbating the problem. Rather than relieving economic strain, these measures restrict business growth, triggering further job cutbacks and compounding the risk of civil unrest. Should this unrest escalate unchecked, our fragile supply chain could be decimated, leading to extended delays, intensified shortages, and soaring prices. So what does this mean for you, the consumer? Should the fabric of our social equilibrium continue to tear, the ramifications will extend beyond mere economic inconvenience. It is essential to prepare for what may be an intensely chaotic period looming ahead. Begin by stocking up on essentials, non-perishable foods, water, and household necessities. Fortify your financial standing by saving diligently and scrutinizing your spending habits. Being proactive is paramount, not only for weathering the storm but for securing peace of mind during these unpredictable times. Walmart, though undeniably resilient amidst societal shifts, might not candidly disclose the full extent of preparation needed in the face of possible civil unrest. As with any retail powerhouse, the focus remains on sustaining business continuity. However, behind the corporate veil lies the stark reality: disruptions are a looming threat that could upend our habitual way of life, right down to where we shop and what we're able to purchase. Now is the time to heed the warning signs. The shockwaves of unrest could spread rapidly, altering the landscape of consumer access and availability. Gear up with knowledge, tools, and resources to withstand the potential upheaval. You owe it to yourself and your family to ensure you are prepared for whatever may lie ahead because, after all, when the system falters, being caught unaware can cost you far more than the price tag on the shelf. 6. The looming specter of economic shortages is more pressing and alarming than you might think. With Walmart already feeling the pressure, experts are sounding the alarm on significant supply chain disruptions anticipated in the coming months as we transition into fall. This isn't mere scaremongering, it is a wake-up call for millions of American families who look to Walmart for their groceries and daily needs. If these shortages materialize, empty shelves could become a grim reality nationwide. So what exactly is causing this looming crisis? It's a tangled web of deep-seated issues that are worsening, and you should buckle up because the ride could get bumpy. Global supply chains are currently under tremendous strain, compounded by a volatile cocktail of geopolitical tensions, natural disasters, and myopic economic policies. The fragility of these supply chains was exposed by the COVID-19 pandemic, and the reverberations are still being felt. Shipping delays, coupled with material shortages, have become the new normal, but that's barely scratching the surface. Ongoing geopolitical disputes, particularly in regions that play crucial roles as raw material and manufacturing hubs, are wreaking havoc on trade routes and ramping up shipping costs by over 30% in some instances. The crisis is more than a slight inconvenience. It poses a substantial threat to retailers like Walmart's ability to keep essential items on their shelves. And if that wasn't enough, the spiraling costs of raw materials are exacerbating the situation. Recent figures reveal that the prices of basics like steel, aluminum, and plastics have skyrocketed by 15 to 20% over the last year. These rising costs have increased production expenses for everything from electronics to everyday household items, putting manufacturers in a tight spot as they attempt to maintain both the volume and price that consumers have come to expect. The result: higher prices at the checkout and fewer goods available. For the average American family, this spells trouble, with grocery bills already surging by nearly 11% this year. and if these shortages persist as anticipated, prepare to shell out even more for staples. One of the most formidable challenges facing the supply chain right now is a critical labor shortage, heavily impacting sectors pivotal to its smooth operation like transportation. In the U.S., there are currently over 80,000 truck driver positions unfilled, and the crisis is deepening. The labor crunch implies that even when goods finally make it to ports, there aren't enough hands to get them to warehouses and retail outlets. Combine this workforce shortfall with severe port bottlenecks, where unloading delays have soared by about 40% this year, and you've got a recipe for widespread shortages. Although Walmart and other retailers are pulling out all the stops to tackle these hurdles, the plain truth is they're racing against time with too few workers to keep the engine of the supply chain humming smoothly. Walmart's proactive measure to stockpile essential non-perishable items, such as canned food and dry staples, isn't simply a hedge for a tough couple of months. It's an indication they're gearing up for potentially severe and prolonged shortages. Adding fuel to the fire is the threat of labor strikes at major U.S. ports. Should port workers down tools, and reports suggest negotiations are precariously balanced, the consequences for the supply chain could be catastrophic. With 40% of U.S. imports funneled through West Coast ports, any significant disruption could effectively plug the flow of goods, leading to more barren shelves. Walmart is well aware of these stakes, which explains why their focus is on stockpiling items that can endure lengthy storage without spoiling. However, this tactic can only stretch so far. If port strikes ensue, brace yourself for delays that could make securing fresh produce, dairy, and other perishables far more challenging.